Greetings, my good friends. Why I speak in this tone, I cannot answer. Yet here we are. Welcome to the stream. Your reminder that I will try to keep up with it as it goes, but the way to guarantee that I do not miss something is to include it with a small tie, that of a super chat, which will also earn you the blessings of my heart. I'm not going to keep that up for the whole stream. Just having a little fun. No, Ms. Wicked Wolf, you ask that every time. If I ever intend to do a full-on drunk stream again, I will announce it as such. I'm going to put you on a quest. You must venture into the woods, and there you will find a log. Go digging around that log. There's a shiny thing. I'd like to have it, please. Thank you. And until you come back with it, I'm keeping all these experience points for myself. The vintage is as it has been the last couple. I'm still working through this preposterously large bottle of Riesling that I bought that was on sale. Not to imply that I need Riesling to be on sale to buy it. I like Riesling. It's just, you know, this sucker was a commitment. Hope everybody is doing well. Yes, and do recall hydrating properly as well as recreationally. I'm not shocked, Gozer, given the where Riesling originates from, but good to hear. The Romanian Riesling, well, it's California Riesling. As I said, it was on sale. It's not high class wine in my goblet this day. I keep slipping back into this. I don't know why. It's probably not even being consistent. It's probably wandering across the moors, all over the land, this accent. Just wanted to pop in and say you rock. Aw! Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate that. Getting drunk sounds fun with all the UK politics going on. I have a little bit of it. Like, I don't have the full view of everything going on, but I get a little taste of it because a fair number of my Patreon supporters are from the UK. And so on the Patreon Discord, there is a channel to talk politics politely. I do have to keep an eye on that sometimes. Not because people are jerks, but just because, you know, topics get heated. But there's a fair amount of UK politics that get talked in there. And I glance at it now and then. Some of it goes over my head, but boy, does it seem like a mess. Rare opportunity for me. I'm usually at work right now. Well, I'm glad you could join us. I started Buffy. I hope you enjoy it, Jason. I have yet to revisit Buffy itself since all the Whedon nonsense, but I especially since, unlike something like, say, Harry Potter, which is continuing to make new stuff and generate new income and new revenue and influence for someone I don't feel like naming right now. Unlike that, like Buffy, it's a done thing. They keep talking about a reboot, and it keeps not happening. So, like, with that continuing to go on, like, I don't think there's a lot of harm in revisiting that if you can get over whatever factor you currently feel towards Whedon's work. I am enjoying. I marathoned Passion of the Nerds channel last week. I think I marathoned through his Buffy and Angel and Firefly videos, and they're real good. I enjoy hearing somebody talk about those shows, even if I'm not quite ready to go back and rewatch them myself. What would you name a tuxedo cat? Don't say Oreo. I don't know. What would I name a tuxedo cat? I'd have to meet the cat. I'm not just gonna throw out a generic name. That's like saying, what would you name a baby? I don't know. Need to get a sense of this thing. Are you excited for Doctor Who coming back next weekend? I can't believe it's so soon. Feels like yesterday the Christmas special aired. This year is going by frighteningly fast. I will not lie. I am excited. I am actually going to have 2 videos on Doctor Who coming out this week. One will be out tomorrow, and another one will be out Saturday. And both are positive and, like, excited. Not to say I don't work a little bit of bitching in there, but mostly for stuff that is gone and past. So you have to forgive me a little bit of that. The original Woman in Black movie, the made-for-TV 1989 one, scared me so much I didn't like sleeping in a house on my own, which is tricky as I do live alone right now. Wow. I should check that out. I've seen the Daniel Radcliffe movie, which I like a lot. I'd actually be really intrigued to see the play. I'd be really curious to see that done, see how it pulls together. Most European wines are made from grapes that came from the USA after we had a bad blight over here decades ago and imported a lot of USian vines. Oh, I actually did not know that. My granddad's funeral is tomorrow. Why is talking to relatives you've not seen in years more awkward than interacting with total strangers? Because you don't know, should I pick up from the last time I remember interacting with you? If you barely remember anything, there's an awkwardness coming from, I should know something about you and I don't. Like, there's, even if you have not interacted with them in a year, there are expectations that you don't always know how to manage with relatives you haven't seen in ages, as opposed to total strangers where there's basically no expectations. Did you watch the season premiere of Velma? No. Will there be more 80s comedies? I love your takes on them. There will be one tomorrow, Jerry, for a movie that... Oh God. Oh, God. You know, when I was given the commission for the 80s comedies, looking at it, I thought the one that was going to be difficult for me to get through, I thought it was going to be Revenge of the Nerds. What I realized going back and rewatching it, though, was there was a lot of good in that movie that actually is still good now, grading on the curve of, you know, stuff that hasn't aged great. And while the stuff that had stuck in my head is not good, like there's some bad stuff in there, it's not the whole thing. So like it's not worth completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater because there is good stuff in there. But this month, I watched Police Academy. Oh, God. And I'll leave it at that. You can watch the review tomorrow. It'll be up in the break room. Out of sheer curiosity, have you watched any of the mini trailers or preview clips for the new Doctor Who season? Not really. Like I've seen... I saw like the episode title things that got dropped on Twitter. I know there's been a little bit more. But like... there are people who feel like going through frame by frame for this stuff and losing their minds, like they have been with the little TARDIS interior thing that got noticed in like the Disney Plus teaser or whatever it was that wasn't even put on YouTube. It was on the streaming service itself or whatever. And like, that stuff like that doesn't super interest me. Oh, hey, Meg. I'm glad you made it. 15th Doctor, give me the lovin'. Okay. Positive and excited. Who are you and what have you done with Vera? Vera is not here. The council is not here. You're stuck with me. Doctor Who reference that may or may not be one that people catch, because I don't know how well remembered lines like that are from Capaldi. He had so many great ones. Any thought on Velma season 2, since there are hints of other seasons? No, I will never watch Velma. Well, I won't say never. Unless somebody pays to have me watch a full season of television, which you can do on the Council of Geeks Patreon, but is not cheap. Until somebody does that, I will never watch Velma. I will watch other YouTubers break over it. I intend to watch NerdSync lose his damn mind over it. That'll be fun. Low fantasy, Conan the Barbarian, Fabio and the Grey Mouse, or high fantasy, Lord of the Rings. It kind of depends on my mood. Broadly speaking, I lean a little bit more towards low fantasy, if only because it is less likely to dip into the fantasy tropes that I don't like. Things like prophecies, chosen ones, the great rising evil, those are far more common to high fantasy, and I'm tired of most of those. That's not to say that all high fantasy does that. Technically, my novel's high fantasy. It's comparatively low stakes for a high fantasy setting, but it is a high fantasy setting. But because I tend to like lower key and not as grand in scope, I tend to favor low fantasy a little bit, just because that's more likely to go that direction. Some high fantasy still can, though, and sometimes even high fantasy that dips into the tropes I don't like can still be good. I have a friend who has a novel that is going to be published next year, which I have read half of. I want to get back and read the rest of it, but she does high fantasy, including some of the stuff that I am like, I don't like that and I'm tired of it. She does it real well, so it can be done. Let's see. Elijah Anderson. Thank you very, very much. Greetings. Hope you are doing well. Watch your old video about complex villain, and I'll say Killmonger still falls under that category for me, even if the particulars of his villainy are a bit different than Carly. I won't dispute that. I'm not going to go over the video for people who haven't seen it or don't remember, but I'm not going to dispute that. I will still say, at the very least, Killmonger is better. I'm not sure I would still use him as an example of doing it right, as much as an example of doing it better. I'm not sure how much I stand by that position at this point, to be completely honest. I'd have to go back and actually rewatch the video to see exactly what I said. But I get what you're saying. Not only is Doctor Who premiering, but next week is also the Eurovision Song Contest, which I have never watched. I've been 18 prior times Doctor Who and Eurovision aired the same night. This will be 19. Interesting. Any thoughts on the Fallout TV series? Have you experienced with the franchise? I have a review up in my secondary channel, The Break Room of Geeks. So go forth and find and see my thoughts. Short version, I like it. My experience with the franchise is limited because I don't have the patience for the old isometric ones anymore. They are on a very slow burn, and the modern ones make me motion sick because they're fully rendered 3D, which tends to do that when there's a free roaming camera. Like people have been, oh, but you can switch it to third person. Switching it to third person just means it'll take me an hour to get motion sick as opposed to 15 minutes. That's still a barrier to entry. Aww, Coco's looking for me, Meg. Aww, a little scruff ball. I watched Police Academy for the first time recently. How did that make enough money to merit 6 sequels and 2 TV shows? Because it was cheap to make, that's why. Last time I talked to one of these cousins, not one who'll be at the funeral, he was super patronizing because I assume because he knows I have autism. Some people really don't know how to act around folks with autism. Police Academy falls under the category of life is too short for me to spend any time watching it. Fair. I was paid. So there is that. Let's see. I used to watch Police Academy films as a kid, as well as the Saturday morning cartoon that they made. Yes, that was the thing. Yep, I remember. I remember seeing commercials for that. I never did see an episode of that. No, that's not true. I saw part of one once. Did you see that they're going to do a limited theatrical release of the newly remastered extended editions of Lord of the Rings? I did not see that. Power to anyone who's going to sit in the theater for that length of time. I will stick with my DVD sets. Thank you very much. I might be late with this, but what do you think of Warner Brothers shutting down Rooster Teeth? I don't have a lot of thoughts for beyond the basics, which is that I don't know Rooster Teeth's work. I never really got into their stuff, so I don't have any investment in what they made. Just the general practice of companies shutting down something that would be a perfectly sustainable business if it didn't have a parent company. Yeah, that's bullshit, and I know that is. So, there is that. Who I think, Vera? I'm not sure what that question is referring to, Carwin. I would love to answer it, but I am losing track of what I've already talked about. Have you ever worn a cocktail dress? I don't know. I'm not sure if any of the stuff I own would be considered a cocktail dress. I'm not sure what defines a cocktail dress in specific. Why do women wear evening gowns to nightclubs? Why don't they wear nightgowns? George Carlin. So I listened to the Big Finish 40th anniversary release for the Sixth Doctor. There was a whole episode which has him and Perry discussing what happened in the twin dilemma. That, boy, bless them for even trying to tackle that. Good grief. I saw the trailer for the new Mufasa The Lion King movie. I did too. Boy, does that look pointless. Wow. I tried to give it some benefit of the doubt because I know the director's a talented guy, but wow. Why? Why any of this? Seen all the stuff about the Doctor, publicity shots, and the memory TARDIS? I have no thoughts until I actually see the episode and see the context. In and of itself, I'm like, oh, interesting. And that's about as far as my thoughts go. And I will not dig into that any further for anyone who's trying to avoid spoilers. I played the first two Fallouts, never played any of the 3D ones. I played a very small amount of Fallout 2, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas. The latter two I bailed on for motion sickness reasons. And Fallout 2, I unfortunately, if I'd played Fallout 2 in the 90s or early 2000s, I probably would have liked it a lot. At this point, with just my ADHD, I can't. It's like the pace of those older games and the way information is doled out, I can't. I just couldn't wrangle my brain to do it. And a toy line. Yes, of course Police Academy had a toy line. That's always the case. Coyote Azul. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that immensely. Ever seen the Swear Fest bleep episodes of SpongeBob, Sailor Mouse, or Aqua Teen Hunger Force Gee Whiz? No. I have not. I did used to like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. You know what actually put me off that show? The movie. The movie realized how thin that whole thing was stretched. If you tried to do more than the 8 minutes or however long their original episode lengths were. How did we get on the topic of Beyonce? Oh, her daughter's in the Mufasa movie? Okay. Who cares? I mean, somebody probably does, but I so wish the re-releases of Lord of the Rings had a marathon option because we'd shell out the money for that. Of course we would, because we are geeks and we cannot help ourselves. Elijah Anderson coming back with another super chat. Thank you very much. You've been very generous tonight. Last super chat, I promise, otherwise I'll go broke. You don't have to do them at that amount, although I do greatly appreciate it. Killmonger's better written than Carly, but he still frustrates me because for so long Black liberation has had such negative connotations attached, and he doesn't help. That is fair. That is fair. It is difficult to find in mainstream media a representation of Black liberation that is not a joke, a villain, or both. There are some, but it's hard. It's hard to find. A lot of representation of Black liberation basically amounted to doing the most caricatured version of that and then laughing at it. Like, that happened a lot. 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that kind of thing happened a lot. So, yeah, no, that's fair. Greta Gerwig is going to direct new adaptation of Chronicles of Narnia. I heard that. Good luck to her. Fallout 2 has a TARDIS in it. I did know that. I did know about that. There have been 2 film sequels to 101 Dalmatians, one to the live-action remake, one to the animated adaptation. Why is neither of them based on the book sequel? Probably so they didn't have to pay royalties. Because they had to pay royalties on their initial films because that is an adaptation of the book. But if they then do a sequel to their movie that is not an adaptation of either of the books, they I'm not sure it's a case of they don't have to pay anything in residuals, but it's definitely going to cost them way less because they're not using any ideas that they didn't already get the licensing for. So that's why. I listened to part of a podcast interview with a kid who used to be a ultranationalist until he went to college and a progressive Jewish group started inviting him to dinners to talk him out of it. I've said before that, like, having the conversations with these people can work, but only on a one-on-one basis. Having debates with the extreme right is meaningless and does nothing but platform them. But if you can get into a one-on-one situation, you can do good. Just, don't have that be all that you're out doing. Do I think that's a waste of time for a progressive group? No. I think that is work worth doing. That just can't, to quote Ian from Innuendo Studios, just don't let that be your whole ass praxis. Do you like Siamese cats? I'm not sure I've ever met a Siamese cat in Poison. Vera, I was asking if it was Libby's book. Yes, Carowin. Yes, that is exactly who I was referring to. Sorry that I am slow enough in the chat that I had lost my train of thought by the time I got to your question. Sorry about that. Have you listened to the audio Bang Bang a Boom? It's the 7th Doctor and Mel encountering an intergalactic version of Eurovision with planets instead of countries competing. I have not. And I can afford to be generous in the super chat for now. I do appreciate that, Coyote Azul. That is very welcome. Hey, Jay Got Milk. I'm glad you like my stuff. Welcome to the chat. I'd love to see a good adaptation of Narnia. I loved those books as a kid. Like, the thing is, The only one I have much investment in is the first book, and the adaptations we've had of that, various, like if you combine the various adaptations, like that's good enough. It's one of those things that like enough cracks have been made at it and enough of them are decent in different ways that I'm like, I feel like if we were to cobble together the component parts of these adaptations, we already have about as good as it's going to get, so I don't really have a lot of interest in new adaptations. A BIPOC friend of mine had the best response. Killmonger and T'Challa were right. I like that as a sentiment. It's not my place to necessarily repeat it myself, but hearing it from a BIPOC person, yeah, it's sentiment I like hearing. Supreme Omega. What have we got today? When villains become anti-heroes due to their popularity, does it bother you? Because for me, it leads to them hogging the spotlight, as seen with Spike and Venom. Oh, thank you for catching that, Carolyn. I did miss Haunted Mari Super Chat. I will do that one next. So thank you for letting me know. Much appreciated. So, Supreme Omega. I'm going to roll that R forever. I don't always feel that. I do sometimes feel that. I like Venom, that definitely happened. In the comics especially. That having been said, I do think they had some decent stories to tell with him becoming an anti-hero. They just over-milked him severely. Spike, I think the way that he was inched in that direction was gradual enough that worked. I think what was done was with Loki in his TV show worked. Like, it can work, but yeah, it is certainly also possible just to be like, you were fun when you were a villain, but now, like, they're just dumping more of you all over the place because you were popular, and it's not the same because you're not in the dynamic that we loved you for. So, like, I get it, and I agree with it on one of the two examples you gave. Haunted Mari, sorry that I missed that super chat earlier. My apologies. And again, big thanks to Carolyn for catching that. I hope whoever reads this has a good day and drinks water. And in honor of that, I will drink actual water. There we go. Let's see here. Book sequel to 101 Dalmatians is bonkers. I mean, that's... Did you know the book 101 Dalmatians is a retelling of the Nativity? News to me. Somehow I'm not shocked, but yeah. People like ContraPoints and Innuendo Studios have done a lot to de-radicalize some rightists. I think because they both used to be right-wing before they learned better. Where was that information dropped, John? I'm not doubting you. And I know, like, Contra has talked about her, like, shit posting earlier days in her edgelord days. And I don't remember that coming up from Ian. I know Ian has generally referred to having needed to do work. I think that was mostly just in terms of, like, general ingrained misogyny because of being raised in a patriarchy. I didn't ever really get the sense that he was previously right-wing. Like, not that it matters. I'm just not sure where you're getting that one. Ikari Kid. Thank you for the super chat. Is all cat best cat, even the horrid ones? The horrid ones is best worst cat. Do you mind explaining how the YouTube algorithm works? No, because I've had half a glass of wine, and that's also going to be a future video topic. Well, not that exclusively, but I'm working on a video that's going to be about the financial reality of trying to be on YouTube, and I am going to talk about the algorithm in more detail there. So I am neither in the headspace to do it properly now, and I'm also going to address it later. Short version, it shifts and it changes. And once the algorithm believes it knows what you are, it is hard to break out of being that. Otherwise, it just ditches you. Recently, Tucker Carlson said he doesn't believe in evolution. Do you think he's being honest, or is he just saying that because he knows a lot of his audience are evangelicals? I don't believe literally anything Tucker Carlson says. That man's a grifter. Now, like, again, I pointed this out before, it doesn't matter whether he believes the things he's saying or not. The things he's saying are harmful and dangerous. How much he believes them is kind of irrelevant, but no, I seriously doubt he thinks that. It is simply to his financial advantage for him to say that he thinks that. Lion Witch isn't the first book, it's The Magician's Nephew, isn't it? Magician's Nephew is the first book chronologically, but Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was the first one released. So you're kind of having the, what do you mean? Star Wars A New Hope isn't the first Star Wars movie, is it? It's episode 4. Like, we're kind of having that debate. As far as I'm concerned, whatever was released first is the first one. There's a reel going around of Tupac on a talk show that is awesome. Title is something like he was so ahead of his time. I might have to look for that later. If you were a companion, where, when would you most want to visit in the universe? I have no idea. I would get choice paralysis. The Doctor would just need to kidnap me and take me places. Always like Spike. He's my problematic fave. He's a lot of people's. Hypno Amber super chat. Thoughts on the Doctor Who ad with the memory TARDIS leak? First of all, if they put it in a trailer, it's not a leak. Like, can we establish that? Can we agree on that? At least semantically, it bothers me that people are calling it a leak. It's not a leak. It was there for like literally a couple of frames, and they knew people were going to go frame by frame. Like, it's not a leak. Was it something most people would notice? No, but it's not a leak. And no, I don't really have too many thoughts because I want to know the full context in which it is appearing and how it gets used. And until I see that, no, I don't really have an opinion. How are the rats? The rats are very good. I got to clean their cage tomorrow. The episode has Perry reveal that the reason that she remained with him is because, from her point of view, her best friend was really sick and she could help him. I mean, I guess it's probably true that Big Finish has done a whole bunch of Perry and the Fifth Doctor stories, because going by how well she knew the Doctor in the show, I don't buy that, but they might have earned that within their own catalog. Discord, yes. Okay, so I need to hop over to the Discord real quick. Reminder that the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk, and I'm going to check out the questions that are over there, and then I'll be right back and we'll pick things up again. I will not be able to keep up with the chat, so if you want me to see something when I come back, Super Chat's the best way to do that. Otherwise, hold your question until I return. Here we go. Okay. Have you seen any of Dead Boy Detective? Thoughts? I haven't, so I don't have any. I haven't had the time. That show very much fell under the category of, if I find myself with some free time, I'd like to check it out, and I have not. Let's see. You know, when conservatives say they want universities to teach classical Western history instead of women's studies or whatever, are they aware in this day and age those courses also involve discussions of race, gender, and other stuff they consider to be woke nonsense? Like, if you take classics and ancient history at university, they don't just give you lectures on how awesome Rome was. They'll teach actual ancient history that involve discussion of stuff like race and gender. Well, they will now. Like, the thing you need to realize, conservatives by their nature want things to stop changing. And if they are reactionaries, they want, in fact, to make them what things used to be before. They want to pull things back. That is what they do. So, like, in their mind, when they say that, they have an image of what, like, Western history was being taught, like, 40 years ago, which was male-centric, and both the academic world and the teachings were all male-centered and very heavily white, which is not the case now. They love to pick on liberal arts degrees and the idea that, oh, those are useless. It's hard for them to claim that history in itself is not worth learning, but they will happily delude themselves into a version of history that is not what any respectable history professor would teach. It's all delusion. It's delusion all the way down. Suppose some right-wing asshat makes a video about you then their audience starts harassing you. Do you think there's any point asking your audience to report the video once it's already gone viral? Nope. Nope, there isn't. At least I don't feel there is. Actually, I'll revise that slightly. That happened to the animation YouTuber Illumation last year, and that's how she reacted. I don't mean this as victim blaming, but I can't see why that wouldn't just attract more harassment, even if you did get the video taken down. I think it depends on the specifics of the video. If the video is literally telling people, go and harass this person on their channel, or is lying about you, yeah, it's probably worth getting that taken down. But if they're just being an asshole and misrepresenting you, or, cherry picking stuff to make you look bad, and then their audience just happens to go after you because that's the kind of audience they've cultivated, no, that's not worth doing. And that has happened to me. I don't have to suppose if that happens. That has happened to me. And no, it's not worth dragging it out in an extended way, in my opinion, unless there's something very specific contained in the video that is actively harmful, other than just a person with a horrible audience base criticize you and now their audience comes after you. I'm not trying to exempt that person from it, but taking it out of the video doesn't help. If the video actually contains harmful falsities, yes, get it taken down. However you need to. If you lived in the Federation in Star Trek, would you feel guilty about the fact you're living such luxurious existence, but so many people in the galaxy are suffering and your government is doing nothing about it because of the Prime Directive? One thing I think the culture has over the Federation is the fact that the culture tries to help out other civilizations. Culture humans don't have to feel bad about their hedonism. Well, I mean, part of it is the Federation is not nearly as hedonistic as the culture is. There is that. So there's sort of that general different philosophy. I honestly don't know. The Prime Directive is one of those things that leads to very spirited debates. Because I understand the concept and the philosophy behind it, and I don't think it's necessarily inherently a wicked thing as a notion, but like there are problems in either direction. Whether, for folks who don't know, the Prime Directive in Star Trek says we do not interfere with developing worlds. If they have not attained a level of like interstellar travel, they don't know how, they don't know how to break atmosphere yet or any of that. We basically try to avoid contact as much as possible and definitely don't interfere with whatever the natural course and development of this civilization is. And there is a certain nobility to that, but at the same time, that does mean that if a civilization is struggling, you are leaving them to suffer. But on the flip side, there is an argument to be made about you are not allowing them to go down whatever path they were on. You are instead guiding them down the path you were on. And there is a certain supremacy to that. So there's problems either way, but that's what makes for spirited debates. And I support spirited fan debates that don't involve name-calling or the word woke. At least unironically. If you had unlimited options, would you live in a big city or a small town? Small town. Although maybe, if we're talking truly unlimited options, maybe I'd keep a high-rise apartment in a city. For I don't know, the occasional week or something. Thought exercise. You are the keeper of the Jedi holocron. Must I? You have to write a Star Wars novel. Difficulty, it has to be about Jedi. What kind of story do you write? For a novel, for a single one-off story, I don't know. Like, I gave my pitch for a Jedi story when I talked about Star Wars shows that I would actually be interested in seeing. And unfortunately, the idea of a Jedi that I am most drawn to is something that doesn't really lend itself to a novel. It lends itself to serialized episodic television, because it would basically be, like the 70s Incredible Hulk or Kung Fu, that kind of, or Paladin for that matter. Have Gun Will Travel, the just wandering from place to place, not trying to get in trouble, but trouble's there and okay, I'm here, I'll deal with it, and then moving on. A novel, I don't have an idea off the top of my head. What other video game franchises would you like to see given the Fallout treatment? I'm not sure I have a suggestion for that off the top of my head, to be completely honest. I mean, it would actually probably be more expensive to do than Fallout. But if someone wanted to take a crack at Diablo with that kind of format, taking the the mountains of lore and working on telling a story that gives you a sense of that setting and those people and everything that goes on there, I'd be down for that. I don't think that'll ever happen because it'd be way too expensive. Longbow or crossbow? Longbow. Pears or apples? Pears, but only if they are underripe. What is a bobcat? Oh, any cat can be a bobcat if you name it Bob. Favorite Bond theme? I tend to back and forth between GoldenEye and Skyfall. GoldenEye is kind of nostalgic for me because that was the first Bond movie I saw in its entirety. Skyfall's a banger, though. Favorite video game soundtrack? Final Fantasy VI. That having been said, there's some recent ones that come close. Spiritfarer being the big one. Favorite song sung by an LGBTQIA plus person? Cripes, you're making me think of songs, and I have to think about who sang it, and I have to think about whether or not I know they're somewhere in the rainbow. I don't know. Let's just say Heroes by David Bowie and move on. Otherwise, I'm going to be stuck in a loop on that question. All right, I am back in the main chat. And we do have new super chats. Supremo Mega, back again. Even before Didio and Johns, the issue with DC Legacy is it's hard to replace iconic number one A-list heroes like Batman and Superman than replacing Flash or a Green Lantern. That's true, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Like, I don't think there's a problem having some people be staples as other ones retire or die and are otherwise replaced by their sidekicks or what have you. I don't think that has to be, that's only as big a problem as you make it. Hypno Amber, back again. Where'd you get that hoodie? I need one. This was made by my friend Grim Noir, who unfortunately, last I knew, had taken down their store. Yeah. They have not reactivated it, I'm sorry to say. Otherwise, I would happily direct you to their stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, that is not possible. So sorry for that. They still have the business is active. It looks like technically, but the website doesn't appear to be up. I think they're doing other projects with the brand at this point. Coyote Azul, back again. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. Any classic anime or cartoons you are fond of? Depends on how far back you have to go to be considered classic. I don't know whether or not within my lifetime counts as classic. I'm getting to that age where it might be, depending on who you ask. But like in my mind, I think truly classic cartoons. I used to really actually like Goofy's instructional cartoons, like the how to play football, how to play baseball, how to exercise, how to ski. I used to really like those. And you know, anytime Chuck Jones did the Looney Tunes, that was great stuff. I guess for some stuff slightly more modern than that. I mean, if we're talking 80s, the real Ghostbusters is the one that I think holds up the best. Not that every episode is great, they're not, but the good episodes are still good, even now. So that probably would be my pick for something. I don't. That's what I pick for something, I guess, a little bit more up to date. Anime. I've seen very little classic anime. I've seen some Gigantor. It's campy. It's kind of fun. I'm not sure I put it as something I'm especially fond of. I think the oldest anime show that I've seen enough to like give an opinion on is probably Vision of Escaflowne, which I still count as my favorite anime, even though I have not rewatched it in a very long time, and I'm slightly afraid to because I'm not sure how it holds up. But I remember really liking it. That one's such a grab bag of anime too, because it's an isekai and it has mech armor and it's also a fantasy setting and there's a cat girl. So it's like a grab bag of anime tropes, but I like it. I love fully ripe pears, even slightly overripe maybe. You can have those Gozer. I want something that like it takes a little effort to bite into, and when you pull away, it's like comes off in a big chunk because it's not all just crumbling under your teeth. Twilord, thank you for the super chat. Checking out your TTRPG actual play. Very fun. Getting more panicked over demonstrating my system. Every little bit of unnecessary polish I add. I mean, just realize that if you haven't actually played it with players yet, nothing ruins a game like players. Like the last stream of Quill and Sword actually was not part of the ongoing story because we were missing a player. So we did, or we tried to do, it kind of ended early because of connection issues. We did a one-shot that one of the players, Megan, who, if you're further back in the Quill and Sword backlog, you might not know yet, a system that she had come up with, we basically were alpha testing for her, and she realized quickly, like, okay, you guys are succeeding at a much higher rate than I had planned. I need to make some adjustments. Like, just be prepared for that. You can't foolproof a thing until you've put it in the hands of fools and found out what they will actually do with it. Tickets for next year's Gallifrey 1 are now available. Do you plan on attending in 2025 or not? Probably not, Harriet. I am probably going to not be doing a ton of travel in 2020. I'd like some. There'll be some. But like I'm doing a lot of travel this year. I probably will not be doing a lot of travel next year just because I don't think I'll be able to afford it next year. Like it's not impossible, but I'm certainly not planning on going next year. I think it's probably going to become an every other year thing for me, most likely. You don't think that counts as victim blaming alienation, right? I don't think it does, 255. Not the way you worded it. Let me see. What have I missed? Hard to believe that the worldwide shutdown was 4 years ago. Not really. Time passes really, really fast. And no, Ms. Wicked Wolf, I do not watch any of those people. And again, that's not a statement of being like, I don't watch them. Like, I haven't really tried. Remember after Lord of the Rings, Hollywood started turning every other well-known fantasy story into a movie. Do you think Dune's success makes a culture movie any more likely? Probably not. I would, well, no, let me revise that. Does it make it any more likely? Yes, insofar as the needle has probably moved a couple of percentage points. Likely enough that it'll happen? I don't think so. Technically more likely? Yeah, probably insofar as there's probably some boardroom somewhere where people are digging through sci-fi novel series and trying to figure out what's there. So, like, it's a non-zero chance, and whatever that number is above zero probably went up a couple more digits, but I don't think enough for it to actually happen. Who would be the doctor you feel safest traveling with, and which would you most like to travel with? I probably feel the safest with 12, but would probably actually enjoy traveling the most with 11. I think we blend with each other well. I think there's a decent chance that I might just annoy 12, despite him being my favorite. As someone who loves the original Beetlejuice film, cartoon, theme park show, and especially the musical, thank you for reminding everyone that Beetlejuice is the villain in the original film. Yeah. Like, I'm very quick to point that out, Tom. Like, somebody tried to argue that point with me, and they're like, well, no, he does some good things. And, like, he points to, this commenter pointed to Beetlejuice, like, saving the Maitlands. Like, he did that as a bargain for him to get back into our world and start wreaking havoc. That's not doing a good thing. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. It was weird. The Goofy How 2 shorts were great. The occasional reference to them in Goof Troop was always fun as well, where sometimes Goofy's plot line in those basically just one of those. Yeah. Yeah. Would I ever want a lap cat? Yeah, at some point I might. It's not high on my priority list at this point in time. We're nearing the end. Brothers Wolf. Hello. Have you seen The Perks of Being a Wallflower? Nope, never did see that one. I remember having to shelve the book when I worked at Barnes & Noble. That's about as close as I came to watching that. I still mask up in public. So do I, actually. Not absolutely everywhere I go, but if when I go to the grocery store, when I go to the pharmacy, most restaurants, yeah, I'll mask up. My first anime would have been Samurai Pizza Cats. Because I'm pretty basic in my taste, I think for classic anime would be Akira. I did not vibe with Akira. My big pull-in when I was younger was Ghost in the Shell. Akira didn't click for me. I think, you know what I think part of it is? I'm not sure if I've laid it out this way before. I think part of the reason that Akira hit a lot of people in my generation and a little older so hard when it came over here in the 80s and proliferated throughout the 90s was that, like, they'd never seen an animation like that. And I don't just mean like the technical visuals, which are gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but like they hadn't seen an anime like, oh, people get shot and there's blood and it's violent and there's like weird philosophical concepts at the heart of it. Whoa, what is this? The thing was, by the time I'd seen Akira, I'd found stuff here homegrown in the US that gave me a taste of that and already showed me animation didn't have to be Saturday morning cartoons. I'd seen Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. I'd seen the Max from MTV. So Akira didn't blow my mind. It just didn't. Like, that door had already been opened. And so when I was left just trying to follow the story, figure out what the hell was going on, I just kind of got frustrated. And that's not to not, like, it is a gorgeously made film. A lot of those images are iconic for a good reason, but it just didn't connect with me. And I think part of it is for a lot of people my age and a little older, it blew open the door to what animation could be. I had that experience from other stuff. So there we go. Do you ever say bra instead of bro? Bra? No, I say bruh sometimes. B-R-U-H, not B-R-A-H. Bruh. What animal is Goofy? He's a dog. Which brings up a lot of questions about Pluto. If Goofy's a dog and walks on two legs and talks and has a kid, and Pluto is down on all fours, rooting around. Like, there's a lot of interpretations of that. Like, look, maybe Pluto is just as sentient as Goofy, and he's just into full-time 24/7 pet play. I ain't gonna judge. Do you know any Australian TV shows? I watch one and I know of one. I know of Neighbours because everybody was on it, and I've seen Bluey. That's what I've got. Ikari Kid, that's all I've got for you, I think. Coyote Azul once more. Folks are being real generous today. I actually greatly appreciate it. This was shaping up to be a little bit of a difficult month, so it helps. Think the Guardians of the Galaxy films have more pulp sci-fi feel than superhero? Yeah, I call that accurate. They're an 80s-ified pulp sort of thing. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The Akira manga could be positively Byzantine sometimes. I've heard that. Never tried to read that. To be fair, the Akira movie had to condense and leave some important bits of the plot that better explain what happened out from the manga version. I've heard that as well. Does iconic motorbike slide. Best spin on that is still Jordan Peele and Nope. Live action, oh, so good. So good. And that movie, oh God, that movie's so good. That movie's so good. God. And like, it almost makes me angry how good that movie is. But anyway, yeah. That's if we're saying like best derivative motorcycle slide, I give it to Nope. Do you believe in nostalgia can ruin a movie? I suppose in a slightly roundabout way, in that nostalgia can create a version of the movie that you then go and revisit, and if it doesn't hold up to your nostalgia, you might not be able to find whatever joy there might have been if you weren't nostalgia clouded. I suppose something like that could happen, but if you're talking about a different kind of phenomenon, I'm not sure how to respond to that. Any thoughts on the films made by the Daily Wire? Nope. And I will never have any, because I refuse to watch them. Somebody tried to commission me to watch those. I would, well, they better have a way for me to not have to pay for it. Let's say that. And I probably still wouldn't want to do it anyway. Akira benefited for coming in the wake of Blade Runner. We were starved for that stuff back then. Fair. Twilord. Thank you very much for the super chat. If I commissioned you both to talk about from different angles, you for TTRPG, him for Digimon, would you be willing to collab with another YouTuber? Maybe. I think you'd have to hit me up in like DMs or email or something and like lay out exactly what it is you have in mind. I would say that based off that pitch, open to it, possibly, but I'd need more details, and I would probably have to vet the YouTuber just for whether or not I would feel comfortable. But like, maybe, call it a maybe pending details. I've seen suggestions that Goofy is a cow. He's not. That gets suggested because he's often romantically paired with Clarabelle, who is a cow. They have slightly similar snouts, but if you look right in the nose area, completely different. Goofy has the same face shape as Pluto. Are you an early bird or a night owl? Neither. I'm a midday mongoose. If you could decide a showrunner for Doctor Who, then who would you pick? Neil Gaiman. I mean, that feels like almost a too easy an answer, but time to start wrapping up. Thank you, Caroline. I will try and do that. Scuzzbopper That's a fun one to say. Thank you for the super chat. Have you seen frequently asked questions about time travel? No. No, I have not. It's a good title. It's a real good title. I should have thought of that. The Pup giving their first super chat. Thank you for that. Hey, Vera, did you ever watch House of Mouse on Toon Disney? Love the shorts featured on the show. Also got me into crossovers. No, I've seen like clips and bits. But I know I didn't watch it at the time, and I've never seen like much of it. I know what it is, but no, I didn't really watch it. I know it's only rock and roll, but do you like it? Who doesn't like rock and roll? All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up. So, stuff coming up tomorrow on Twitch, Council of Geeks on Twitch. I will be playing more Dave the Diver. That's at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Also tomorrow on the main channel right here, there will be a video out talking about something that, well, a couple of things, but mainly one thing that RTD, Russell T. Davies, said about his approach to the new season of Doctor Who, and I'm going to spend most of the time focusing on what he said about the Timeless Child plot. So I've got thoughts on that. That'll be out tomorrow. Slightly later tomorrow in the break room of Geeks will be my incredibly exasperated review of Police Academy, which fucking sucks. Not my review, the movie. And then Friday will be more streaming. Probably of Dave the Diver. Depends. But most likely that's what I'll be streaming Friday. And then Saturday will be a video with me giving my hopes for the upcoming season of Doctor Who. So that is what is coming down the pike. Twilord coming in at the last minute with a super chat. You sneaky bugger. Totally get it. Don't want to tell you who I am thinking of until I ask him a similar question. He probably has similar feelings for similar reasons. Fair. Fair across the board. Like I like the ambition of the idea that you have. I think it's just a question of whether things will line up and the stars will align. I admire the notion, though. It's a cool idea. Viability, I don't know, but it's a neat idea. Anyways, that's it, everybody. Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Be well, be safe, be kind. You are beautiful. You are valid. You are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!